Hi, I'm Sue Hannah, and I just want to welcome you to this series of just some ponderings and reflections. And I've called it a collection of main things because as I was receiving these downloads from God, it felt like each one was, this is the main thing, and then there'd be something else, and this is the main thing. So we're just going to journey through a collection of main things. And my hope for this is that you will join in the journey, that you will have your own reflections and your own ponderings about what God is saying to you. This series, it comes out of my sabbatical time. And that coincided just by accident with the outbreak of COVID-19. And my experience of COVID-19 was that it put those two little words, ab, in front of the word normal. So normal became abnormal. And I think my experience is shared by a lot of people around the globe. And it's flipped a lot of what I knew on its head. And that's been really good. So from conversations I've had with others, it was also a time when many people were asking quite deep questions about, what is the purpose and meaning of life? That if our whole earth and globe can be flipped upside down by a small little virus, what is the deeper meaning for me in my life? And is there a God, and does he care? And what is truth? Because we've heard a lot about fake news, and there's a lot of things on social media, and we read them and we go, is this true or is it not true? And how do we know what is truth? So they're pretty deep questions, I'm sure you'll agree. But let's just do this journey together and see where God takes us. So a little bit of the background is that I returned to New Zealand on the instructions of the New Zealand government. I have been living in Cambodia for 15 years, and I have never heard such strong messages from governments all over the world. But the New Zealand government was saying, if you're a Kiwi overseas, get back. You have a window of 5 days. And so I found myself at my sister and brother-in-law's house in Acacia Bay on my own, doing what I thought was going to be 14 days of self-quarantine and isolation. 5 days into those 14 days, the government announced we're doing a 4-week lockdown. So that added 28 days to my 5 days. And at the end of that, we moved from level 4 to level 3, which wasn't much different. And another 10 days was added to my isolation time. So what I thought I was coming back for 14 days isolation, which was doable, I actually ended up doing 43 days on my own in Acacia Bay in Taupo. So if I had known at the start that I was going to spend 43 days on my own, I would have had a stack of books, a pile of movies that I was going to watch, and possibly a big pile of chocolate to go with it. But I surprised myself, actually more like astonished myself, that I actually relished this gift of time that I had been given to think and to ponder and to listen and to simply be. And I found that story to be repeated in other people as well. I had planned a 3-month sabbatical time with conferences in Asia. And when I found myself on my own, it made sense to bring that sabbatical time forward and to start. So I had all this empty time on my hands, and I just felt that the best use of that time was to begin a sabbatical time. That's how I ended up making the smart choice to move into an intentional time where I listened to God, and a coach helped me through that because I'd never done it before and I needed help. At the beginning of that time, I read a story where St. Francis of Assisi was with a colleague, and he heard his colleague praying the same prayer over and over and over again. And that prayer was, "Who are you, Lord my God, and who am I? Who are you, Lord my God, and who am I?" And that short, simple prayer resonated so much with me that I realized That simple prayer, I want that to form like an umbrella for my sabbatical time. And I wanted everything that I did in my sabbatical time to come in under that. And for me to answer those two questions deep in my soul and in myself. Who are you, Lord God, and who am I? And you know what? Meaning in life flows from those two questions. Who are you, Lord God, and who am I? The spin-off is that when we spend time in those two questions, that we start to notice a strengthening in our identity, a strengthening in our core, when we understand or are more self-aware of who we are and who is God. So starting with that first question, I realized that the list of attributes and the characteristics of God, if I was going to answer that question, who are you, Lord God, I would not be able to finish that, because God and who he is inexhaustible. So I thought that question, I think I need to leave that question for one day in eternity, because that's how long I'm going to need to answer that question. But the second question, it's strongly connected to the first. I have come to understand that if my awareness of myself is strong and healthy, firstly, that will come from, and it will include, a deep knowledge and experience of knowing who God is, a confidence in his character, and from that, how he reacts with me and in me. So the two questions go together. Identity and belonging, I think, are the most two important underlying issues that affect all of us, either consciously or subconsciously or even unconsciously. We end up living our lives out of identity, who we think we are, and belonging, where do I fit in this world? So who I believe God to be, and once again, whether I've consciously thought of that or whether it's just become a default belief in me that I grew up with in my childhood, it's still a core belief. Who do I believe God is? That affects decisions in my life and how I live my life, and also who he made me to be. So I think I know who I am, but who does God say I am? That's the foundational rock of my existence. And these core beliefs, when I have spent some time and unpacked them in my life, I can build with confidence on those. So it makes good sense, okay, that with this gift of time that I was given, that I address those two questions. Who are you, Lord my God? And who am I? So that's what God was saying to me. I wonder what God's saying to you. For you to answer those two questions. Who are you, Lord God? And who am I? So let's just take some time and think about those, and then we'll move on to some other subjects that relate to that. Watch this.